And so the question was, do I have a yearning for being able to see at any one time sort of a full characterization of an AnyLogic model? And my answer was absolutely. And I have a, a sense of kind of imperative for realizing this for agent-based models in general. And I think AnyLogic is quite quite poor in supporting this. Impoverished is maybe too strong a word, but it is very weak for sure. One thing that it does have here is this capacity to create documentation. And if I were to go click on this model and say create documentation, it says yes, save changes, yes. It will allow me to create documentation in a couple of different formats, whose level of detail I can set and inclusion I can set. So maybe I want to include charts and I want to include state charts in general, but leave out some things with presentations, etc. And maybe I don't want information on the scenarios. And this will create something that has kind of a enumeration of these components of the model, which is maybe some starting points. It gives me some specificity about what's in the model, but it's kind of a welter of detail. And even though I could drill down and say, don't include presentations, you can see that there's quite a lot of what I consider extraneous for a given need. So the fact that the crude prevalence of diabetes is based on this data set is probably useful. The fact that it's in chocolate, or that this one's an olive drab for prevalence of diabetes amongst the in utero exposed, often, I won't be as interested in this. And so it can lead to this frustrating sense of failing to see the forest for the trees. And the essential logic, the essential underlying sort of semantics of what you're capturing is I think at risk of being lost in this kind of welter of details. You're failing to see the forest for the trees. In fact, for the weeds. So it's not that the information isn't in there. It's just it's in there mixed with all sorts of distracting things. So this is kind of one poison, and pick your poison. I'll show you another type of poison. And if I go take a look at this, and I go see the ALP file, and I can fire up my trusty, a trusty code editor, and I can go open up that file, and I can see, a complete characterization, unambiguous, precise characterization of the models. But again, there's something that's lost there, right? There's just all a welter of details that's full and sound of fury. There is some, it's not that it signifies nothing, but somewhere in here is the core information I'm interested in. And you can see some bits of it there. And so this is your other poison. You can, it's an XML file, you can process it, and we've written XML tools to extract information and process this and transform the information. and that's all good. But for most AnyLogic users, they're going to lack our facility with, with processing XML files and so on. And this is a sad commentary on today's state of modeling. I will say that repassed models have if you think that's bad, you should go see repassed models. Again, there's this sense of like, where's the logic? It's being lost in this universe of software engineering sort of obscuria. The sort of details of the implementation and accidents of the presentation and so on are being mixed together with sort of core logic in ways that obscure the insights. Yes, this is a point of great frustration by me. It's a point of great shame by me as a computer scientist, because we were dealing with the same things 32 years ago when I first started using this, started doing agent-based modeling for research, and I thought, like, oh, this is going to be cleaned up and soon, and 30 some odd years later, it's just as bad and arguably worse. I see this as one of agent-based modeling's sort of biggest limitations, is the fact that it does not support ready characterization in a crisp compressed format. Now, if do I think that is inevitable? Absolutely not. This is a lot of my shame, is we can do so much better than this. We know how to do this. This is not rocket science. We know how to do it. And we can leverage good tools for doing it. And I mean, we tried and true techniques, but they just haven't been leveraged effectively. And much of my work methodologically with agent-based modeling, certainly far from all, but quite a lot of it has been spent to try to arrive at much more concise, transparent, comprehensive. Comprehensive is not the right word, because all that information is there in those other forms, but expressive ways of characterizing the core logic that won't be tangled up with all these inessentials, with all these distractions. And we've shown that it's absolutely possible for a large number of agent-based models, and we've shown at least two promising ways of achieving that, that have great promise. So I think it's a point of profound sort of shock and frustration on my part, that and burning yearning that this be resolved. So